we might want to work to maintain that.
I feel like many would argue that we don't live in a pristine environment.
Well, it's not pristine. I said unique. And it is fairly pristine compared to many, many, many other places.
Oh yeah. So I think preservation of our, our mountain ecosystem. Let's see, what do we say there? I wish I had control over a little bit, but I don't. So,
Jill, what?
Yeah. Well, which statement are we looking at, May?
I'm on the chat right now. I thought
we
that's
have 3 vision statements.
Okay.
So is your Parks and Recreation vision statement, our community and its vision and visitors enjoy ecologically sound and well-maintained parks with recreation and cultural services and facilities that meet the needs of a growing community while simultaneously protecting its natural resources?
Yes.
Is that just one of 3?
Yes.
Because I was going to say you could just add after parks in that sentence, open space, and then you got it done. But it's just a suggestion if you're trying to consolidate it. I mean, if you're fine working with 3 vision statements, that's perfectly fine. But you could just add open space and trails after parks in the first one, and you've got one. Then you've got one statement. It's just a thought.
That's a good point.
I'm going to temporarily just put them all here so we can look at them all together.
Great. Good idea.
And trails. Okay.
Well, I would like to add that under parks, open space, and recreation, or however way we do it, that we're not just looking to maintain our open space in our parks, but I think this is the group that would answer to trying to support biological diversity of our environment. And as you said, Jill, preservation of our mountain ecosystem. These are two phrases.
It's also enhancing its health, or
Well, maintaining it at least, maintaining and enhancing.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. We already have maintaining. Do we want to, enhance it?
But I think we should be specific, not just the open space, but of our unique and diverse natural environment.
I think you could tweak the end of that top one. I mean, you're saying a lot of the same things in these 3 different, you could say our community and its visitors enjoy ecologically sound and well-maintained parks, open space, and trails with recreational and cultural services and facilities that meet the needs of a growing community while simultaneously protecting its natural resources and eco or biodiversity or whatever.
Well,
if that kind of captures what you're saying.
I think what she's saying is it's not just protecting, but
advancing,
supporting and enhancing the biodiversity of our area.
So protecting its natural resources and advancing its biodiversity.
Karen, could you say that again? I'll type it in. We'll see how it looks.
Sure. Okay. So our community and visitors enjoy ecologically sound and well-maintained parks, open space, and trails with recreational and cultural services and facilities that meet the needs of a growing community while simultaneously protecting its natural resources and advancing its biodiversity. And I'm just taking the words I'm hearing. It may not be perfect and may not say exactly what you're trying to say, May. So,
I think we could just say protecting and enhancing its natural resources.
Its natural resources and biodiversity.
Yeah, and I think if we put something in there about our
That makes sense.
environs, because I don't think we want to, I mean, this could be the vision statement of Broomfield almost, you know? We have parks, we have trails, we have a eye to the environment, but, you know, as a member of other committees, and as people are trying to address varying things, for example, the Big Springs egress, should we put it in a riparian corridor? Should we put it someplace else? Um, if that's on
Uh-huh.
national forest land, it technically doesn't come under the purview of open space and trails.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I think this it I believe it does come under open space and trails because the egress is in um, the Forest Service and Boulder County open space, and it will be a trail as well as a an egress for vehicles. So I know it's not um, it won't be located within town's property, but we are looking at the greater Netherland area. And
Yeah, but we don't really say that anywhere, Karen. I agree that we do try to look at the greater Netherland area, but I think this is open to misinterpretation a little bit as it stands.
yeah, I'm just looking at remembering what's in the comprehensive plan. And in the comprehensive plan, we have organizations and references to land that are not within the town proper, like Wild Bear is recognized as an organization that provides nature education, which is
Right, and I
important.
added under goal number 1 a few more documents because the IGA wasn't listed there.
Okay.
There's nothing about CPAW. There's nothing about former comp plans and Envision 2013.
Mhm.
And, you know, those are all big documents. And maybe one of the things we could do is pick through as we continue to work on this so we're not reinventing everything.
Mhm.
Things that we all agree about.
Yeah.
But I think that, you know, I'm looking at the economic diversity thing and, you know, in my experience of having more travel maybe than some people and going to a lot of music festivals in various places and in Brazil, I mean, towns develop a character. And I think one thing that we're trying to do with this Envision statement is determine what our character is. Are we a place where someone who might suffer from lung problems, for example, want to come and spend some time in the open air? Are we a place where we might want to try to encourage live in musical festivals like they have up at Rocky Ridge and Estes, and I think they have one in Breckenridge? There are a lot of ways that we can kind of define our town. And if one of the ways we define it is that we are, you know, a jewel in a necklace of ecological diversity, that's a little bit different than what I see evolving at this point. Maybe there's not agreement on that. Maybe we don't care.
Well, I think this is Parks, Recreation, and Open Space is just one part of the Netherland vision. And so, but I like this consolidated statement. The reason we have 3 is I started with the Steamboat Springs vision statements. But I like this
Exactly.
able
We
as
need
one.
to have our own statement, I
Yeah,
believe.
Well, it's been modified quite a bit from what I originally put in this document. So it's no way looks like Steamboat Springs. So I don't know. Jill, does this look good to you? Is Jill here?
It looks like she might have fallen off. She was having some technical difficulties. I know she was on when we were originally talking about trying to consolidate into the one, but I think she's been off for a little while.
Well, I don't see why we need to feel like we're in a culture of disagreement.
Mhm.
I would like to just see some tip of the hat to the fact that we are in a very unique, biologically diverse environment in here, because we don't really allude to that.
Mhm.
And if we want to lift it out of a former document, and
Mhm.
I haven't opened this with you earlier, I did volunteer for a number of subcommittees and kind of scrambling to keep up. But I think that, this is what's going to be discussed tomorrow with the other subcommittee chairs.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's, for me, it's important.
Yeah, that's very important, for sure.
And I appreciate the work you've done, Karen. Wordsmithing is,
And Jill. And
and
Renee.
Jill, you
I
guys have
had
been
thoughts
working
until I
together,
crashed.
but I've been
Sorry.
kind of left out of the loop, I'm afraid. And, I'm maybe my bad for not being more proactive. But we do have this scheduled time, and these are my thoughts there
Yeah,
in the chat.
okay. Well, the document's always available to just throw your thoughts on. That's what I did. I just downloaded my thoughts. But while
Yeah.
I'm wondering if we want to say, while simultaneously protecting, enhancing, I had it all in my head and then I dropped off the internet. So protecting and enhancing the unique mountain ecosystem surrounding area, or
Of which we are a part.
okay, am I still there? Okay.
Enhancing the.
I threw that up there in the chat.
Okay.
Thanks.
Could
The
you?
unique, so protecting and enhancing the unique mountain ecosystems. I don't think you need natural resources personally. I think mountain ecosystems captures it a little better.
And just, is that it?
I think take out the last 5 words there. Natural resources. Yeah.
Wait, I'm not seeing this. Where is this going? Oh, I see. You're right in the document. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. So that.
Should we? Our unique mountain ecosystem.
Well, I put the unique mountain ecosystem of which we are a part. The Boulder is trying to integrate Native American cultural rights to this land, and as stewards of this land, and I'm not a Native American, but I know enough about culture to realize that they always make a point of saying,
Mm-hmm.
we're a part of this. We're not
Mm-hmm.
it. We are a part. So I like my language, mountain ecosystem of which we are a part.
Or you could say enhancing unique mountain ecosystem and its cultural history.
We have.
No, of which we are a part, because that includes the fact that we are one species among many.
Yeah, agreed.
And there's cultural services up here. So
Right.
let me read that. I'm going to read it out loud then. Our community and visitors enjoy ecologically sound and well-maintained parks, open space and trails with recreational and cultural services and facilities that meet the needs of a growing community while simultaneously protecting and enhancing the unique mountains ecosystem of which we are a part.
I like it.
You know,
I
great.
really like that last piece.
Me
Unique
too.
mountains ecosystem of which we are a part. Yeah.
That's wonderful.
that's
Mhm.
awesome. I guess the only
Good
comment
thinking, man. That's
I
great.
would make, Karen, and
Mhm.
thank you for reading that.
Mm-hmm.
But what you're on one of my committees, we're trying to be very careful about identifying the various components of any plan, you know, the who, what, why, when, where, and how. So we identify the who, our community and visitors, enjoy ecologically sound, etc. Facilities that meet the needs of these communities, perhaps, because constant references to growth for me are unsettling. As part of
Well,
Parks
I
and
think that's part of the goals. I feel like we want to call out a few of these things in the goals. I think that I like the point that Karen Garrity made about putting this all into one vision statement. So I think we should put parks, recreation, open space, and trails. Vision. I personally kind of open space vision. Anyway, sorry. So the actual vision statement we have under trails could be a goal.
I'm talking about
Okay.
where you were just reading Parks, Recreation, and Open Space,
Instead of growing, how about changing?
or just about of these communities. We've already
And
identified
that meets the needs of,
these communities, our community, and visitors.
is that confusing because we have our community and then we have these community? How about the needs of the community?
Well, it's actually well, we could say those needs and take out of the community.
That meets, yep,
You like that?
not sure.
Those needs that meet those needs while simultaneously protecting and enhancing the unique mountain ecosystem which we are part.
Our community enjoy ecologically sound and well-maintained parks, open space, and trails, while with recreational, cultural services and facilities that meet the.
Am I here? Can you hear me?
Oh, their needs maybe instead of those needs, their needs.
I don't know.
Oh, I like it.
What about Jill?
I don't
Because
know.
otherwise we're introducing and we have a subject and then we have another subject thrown in the middle of the sentence, which is
Cool.
growing.
Can we just read it for a minute, May? Hold on. Our community and visitors enjoy ecologically sound and well-maintained parks, open space, and trails with recreational and cultural services and facilities that meet, I don't think it's their needs, that meet,
But you just started off
that
with
meet.
people. People
How about
enjoy ecologically sound and
I think we're focused
well-maintained
on a different part. Just
parks.
a minute. Okay. And
I think it's better, let's
recreational
say,
and cultural services and facilities that
and then
meet
drop it.
that
Drop out
meet
that meet
community
their
needs.
Just take out those four needs complete, those four words completely. It'll make it shorter. Services and facilities while simultaneously. It's a
Mm-hmm.
given.
Mm-hmm.
He already says.
Oh, that is so much better.
Well, so yeah, that's good.
That's so less wordy. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I think it's awesome. No,
Yeah, it's awesome.
I'm
Yeah.
totally
Me too.
on board with this. And so is this now Parks, Recreation, Open Space, and Trails?
Well, the name of our subcommittee is Parks, Recreation, Open Space, but
Okay.
perhaps we could add trails in there or not.
Or we could just make it a goal, which is what I
Well,
was
you know,
trying
I
to
thought
suggest
I
earlier.
would love to have a discussion with this fabulous group about trails because, in my own experience, a lot of times a trail is a roadway.
Yeah, that's a detail though. Let's focus on the big picture. We have this vision statement now.
Okay.
It doesn't call out trails. We can erase, I feel like the next one, open space vision statement. Did we cover it in that up above statement? do we want to just get rid of that statement? We're just focused on the big picture. Whoops.
How's that?
Well, maybe keep the trails one. I think we should look at it,
Okay.
Karen. Can you put it back?
Okay. Yeah, I can put it back.
Yeah, I just wanted us to look at it, make sure we captured it. Because we'd put some thought into this. What we were talking about in this open space vision statement was about a healthy community. So, I don't know if that just becomes a goal.
That's what I would suggest, is that
right.
That those statements in open space and trails that are not in there become goals.
I think so too. I think it's
yeah.
a goal. So maybe that's like goal number 1, open space. And then goal number 2, just to keep it, we don't need to keep it goal number 1 and 2, but just so we don't lose all that thought there. Goal number 2 is the trails. And then I think, May, to your question, within each of these goals, we want objectives about, again, making a trail into a road is actually not ecologically sound. So I just wonder if we want to capture, when I was just downloading a bunch of thoughts on here, so, we can take or leave whatever I put in here. But what I was thinking was, is it worthwhile for us to have some kind of matrix, some kind of measurement tool that people have to use when they make changes in the community, like having an arts event? They have to, have a checklist, and if it doesn't meet the checklist, then it doesn't happen. I don't know, or it would. So I guess to me that would be a really great outcome, is that there's some effort towards creating some kind of measurement tool on what is ecologically sound for our trails and for our, open space and recreation plans. And I tried to just sort of throw some things out there, just, what are all the, like, for example, under goal number 4 that I wrote out there, I just threw some questions in there because, and you can do the same, May, anytime. I just thought, well, let's just throw it down here of what are all of the opportunities that currently exist. What do these assets need in order to be successful? What opportunities are missing, and how do we make decisions about what we need? For example, can Boulder fill those gaps? And just development, so determination of the demographics. And, are we already meeting the needs of the bulk? And then, then there's the tourist part of things. Because tourists, whether we like it or not, come to our communities. So if we don't meet the needs of tourists, I think then damage is done. People just don't know how to interact with the Hesse trails and with the trail, it's one of those things that I think we just need to call out and address as a demographic.
So Jill, back to what you said about the measurement tool. The Sustainability Advisory Board has a tool that they use for every new project to measure sustainability.
Right. So I think that then these other vision groups need to kind of put that in their thing of, are we, how do we be sure, just making sure there's alignment with an already existing measurement tool. We can't just throw out ideas and not, think about what already exists. That's what I was kind of getting at.
Well, I'm all about having ecologically sound events, but I will say that we should have continuity across the platforms. I know my neighbor just built a house and they threw away a couple dumpster loads of lumber that either was over purchased or ruined in the weather. And then when you go to an event and you're expected to have zero waste, I think it's unfeasible. I think that we shouldn't exact standards from our festivals that we don't even have at home. You can provide.
So what's the solution on that, May? How do we address that in our Envision plan?
Well, I do know
couldn't agree more.
Yeah, thank you.
I mean, I
Well,
think
I
that
think
fits
that
into the
one of the things
environmental
we might want to
sustainability
do,
group.
maybe, excuse me?
I think that particular point of waste belongs in the environmental sustainability group. Um, but you know, when it comes to preservation and open space and how that gets married to recreation, I do think events falls into recreation. And I do think we should, I don't know how we address, I don't know, you know, there has to be some kind of marriage between how we use our public lands and our vision of protection and enhancing unique mountain ecosystems of which we are a part, right?
Well, right. And of course, parking is such a huge part of that. One of the
Right.
notes I made for today was, and I know everybody's talking about parking and shuttles, and this may already exist, and if it does, and I haven't seen it yet, I apologize. But we are kind of a gateway, just like Estes Park is, and they have a shuttle service up to the park. I thought of a couple different destinations that are very popular leaving from Netherlands, such as Hesse, and East Portal has gotten to be a huge parking lot. That's a very popular trailhead. And then the what do they call it? Let me see. The Wild Basin is another one,
Mm-hmm.
along with Brainerd.
Yes.
And there have been efforts over the years to coordinate stuff like transportation and parking, maybe along the peak to peak. And I, for one, would love to see that coalition um, kind of be reborn. I don't know how to fit it in. Um,
What coalition was this?
well, there was the Peak to Peak Healthy Communities Association at one point, and I think it went more towards social services.
Mm-hmm.
And then the Mountain Neighbor was originally kind of a newsletter that was, Jill, might remember that guy. He was a storyteller that put out, and it was called the Peak to Peak newsletter or something.
Hmm.
Um, and it really is, once people get up in the mountains, people come to Netherlands sometimes because, they're going to climb Long's Peak. And
Well, do we?
shuttle service, maybe instead of having a bus, we could have a thing like maybe peaceful rides could expand, or there
Yeah,
could
but I
be a,
don't think we want to come to. I mean, I agree, all these things are so important, but I don't think right now we want to come up with all the solutions. I personally
okay.
think it's more about addressing how we organize our community to get there, you know?
Well,
Um,
So
like under Gold
and
Troop
so,
Trails, our
huh?
community units visitor, it doesn't say anything about parking.
Well,
I think
that's our vision
I
statement.
think we have
But if
something
you
up
go up,
here, accessibility,
yeah,
maybe
right. So if
alternative.
we have, well, I think we need goal number 3 is recreation.
Okay.
So
Oh,
anyway, so we can call these out in that way. But so
okay.
if we look at just the first one,
Okay.
our goal number 1 is the open space, and then we can come up with our objectives around that. What are the things that we would like to see happen to, as I think that goal
Well, that's a
statement
good
is,
way to organize.
I think so too.
I'm maybe we organize like parks and recreation, open space, and trails for
Yeah,
high level goals.
that's what I think.
Okay. Oh, and May, I just wanted to comment on what you were saying about the shuttle. Coincidentally, I had that same conversation
Mm-hmm.
on Friday with a former chair of the DDA, and he mentioned a grant that they pursued back when he was on the DDA for a shuttle connecting Eldora to town and some
Mm-hmm.
other
Mm-hmm.
locations. The shuttle would go up to the new Wild Bear location, and it would go to Eldora. It would go to town.
It'd be great to have that be an electric vehicle or some kind of
And,
model to
and
environmental sustainability.
Yeah, and I mentioned maybe a way to kick that off would be the peaceful rides. So I
That's funny.
think,
So do you want to download that right now? Just put it under, where do you want to put that
well,
under?
I think
Open
I
space or
think that
recreation or?
I think that's in environmental sustainability as
Well,
their,
but it
we
falls
could
under
put it here
our
too.
accessibility goal. So
Okay,
I think if we put it under, let's see, under park, what did we, oh, you were starting to write goal number 3,
yeah, I
parks and
think I
recreation.
I
Parks
think
and
it qualifies as recreation. I mean, festivals are
Parks and
recreation, but
recreation, and then underneath as an objective, um, I think we call it accessibility.
okay.
And then
Oh,
then
right.
we
Okay, so
could put accessibility under each one of those. Like there could be
okay,
objectives that address the same ones each time. So accessibility would include,
okay. Yep,
right, um,
yep.
ecologically, so transportation or uh, something to encourage the bus riding. And the bus is an issue. I mean, that is another issue, is the fact that Eldora completely seizes upon that bus all winter long. I love Eldora, but I can't get my staff up to work at Wild Bear. I have people that come up every day and they can't get on the bus. So
Um,
just, I know that there's a lot of other people that want to
yeah,
access Netherland.
yeah.
So, I don't know. So yeah, the bus is an issue. Um,
So I just want to distinguish between goals, objectives, and projects and initiatives. So
exactly.
I think the goal here would be to make these facilities accessible
Right.
and to reduce uh, traffic for
Mm-hmm.
environmental reasons. And then the project or initiative would be um, uh, develop a shuttle system.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's what I was
So,
trying to say. Right.
so the goals and objectives would be um, less concrete, they and outcome based, and if we can make them smart, that would be the best, to where they're measurable and there's a time component to them.
So I feel like another kind of a overarching objective, I think, and I feel like it's kind of under each one, but the decision-making process. How do we make how do we, um, no, not just sit around at an Envision 2030 meeting and talk about the issues, but how do we create a decision-making process where everybody knows that that's that's how things work in Netherland, right? Does that make sense?
Not really.
Okay,
well,
sorry. So like you had mentioned, there's a measurement tool sorts. So if that measurement tool was working, then I don't think we would have this conversation. So I just wonder if we can kind of figure out, yeah, the Netherland planning process, Karen's writing in there. Do we want to call that out as, yeah.
Okay.
And I admit, it's hard for a citizen to know all these things without being completely engaged. So having them really be implemented, I think, would be a good thing. But
well, to that point, Jill, the community engagement forum is working on that, of course, and
yeah,
Deb posted an excellent link to Boulder, and they've developed a web page. It's kind of like a hot topics page. It's a, I would envision one that's a little more complex, but that would also have this hot topic component. And their hot topic now is the indigenous, you know, stewardship thing and how people want that to manifest. It might be an interesting thing for this committee to investigate not only the way they have their webpage set up, but the dialogue going on about Indigenous stewardship. If you go to the public engagement thing, you can find that document or that link. I'm sure you can find it if you go to the Boulder County webpage.
Oh, the Indigenous.
Yeah,
I put a link to it in the chat, May.
Yeah, and I'm going to put that
Oh,
in
good.
the
Thank you.
resources page that I have been
Oh,
working
good.
on.
Yeah, I
I'll
like
just
that.
put it on there right now.
It's funny because
Okay.
I had it open in my laptop because I was looking through it this weekend. Boulder's, this initiative.
So I want to throw out one thing there, and that is we may want to, like, this is like a laundry list of things, and we may want to just have some focus areas so that in 10 years we can look at those areas and say, yeah, we made progress in these specific things, whether they be Indigenous support or accessibility or connection of trails, whatever. I don't know how to do that if we prioritize or what.
I love that idea. I think that we
Me
should
too.
have a timeline maybe or a flow chart of some nature. So that we can measure and I'm not quite sure of the timeline. And I'm also curious about these charrettes and how those are going to manifest to the community and whether we should be talking. Do we need to plan for that? I know that's kind of a parenthesis and we can ignore that for now if Karen can orient us on it later so we don't break the flow. I'd appreciate it.
Sure, I know Miranda's been working on this as well, so staff can definitely update. And I haven't seen the agenda for Tuesday night, but that might be kind of a good conversation for the full group. All the
Yeah.
That's a good idea. Okay.
Because I try to envision what's a charrette, and if it's what I think it is, and the ones that I've been to, usually there's only one alternative presented. And I'd like to show, varying alternatives. For example, I think maybe my comment earlier was misunderstood. I'm not advocating turning trails into roads. I'm saying that roadways where cars go are often the only way
Yeah,
for,
makes
say, a
sense.
resident that lives in Big Springs
Agreed.
can get downtown. So that would be an area of focus that I'd be interested in because it ties into housing.
So I think that falls into the accessibility part under trails. We have maybe scroll up a little bit there with to trails, and maybe another thing with that is connectivity between neighborhoods to trails.
And downtown, I think.
And downtown is
Yeah,
part of
so everybody can get
accessibility.
to the bus. Yeah. I think there should be a way for people to get to downtown and the bus.
So the walking, I live in at the top of Big Springs, and walking into town is safe, and it's just a mile in, and then towards the end along Big Springs there's a trail that you can cut down, and a lot of pedestrians use the road to walk into town, and I don't think we need a sidewalk or any other
I'm not advocating for a sidewalk. I'm just saying that I think part of our discussion could be, how can we facilitate and improve pedestrian access? Because I know there's a guy up there that lives up that way that's kind of disabled.
Mm-hmm.
And so, and being close to the snow plowing efforts of everybody that does it, sidewalks along roadways are flawed in the wintertime. But so I'm not saying we need to put pathways along the roads, but there are places where you can. And I don't know. I just wonder if we think about that ever. And
Yeah, well, I had a meeting with ProSab, with Eric, and with Jesse,
uh huh.
and it is something that is very important to come up with how we can enhance. We did a big trails project many years ago that, there's a lot of private land. It's hard to make a connectivity map, of all the trails, but that's how a lot of those trails got developed, for the trails that go out to Mud Lake, past the elementary school, the little trail that goes up to the community center from town. And the intent is, we want to help. I think it is encouraging a healthy community where people are walking to the grocery store or walking, and it's not, and it's particularly during the summer months, but people would do it on snowshoes if it were well signed. Um, so I think it is an important goal to address that part in the trail section of how, what in terms of accessibility, are they properly mapped? Everybody knows where they are because they were developed a long time ago. How is there a possibility to getting maintenance? That one trail coming from the elementary school and it goes down through Indian Peaks neighborhood there, but then you have to cross the highway to get to the community center. Um, is there just to throw a big idea out there, would it be something outlandish to put, figure out a way to have an overbridge on the highway for safety purposes, or actually signage, welcome to our town, that kind of thing. So there are thoughts that have been milling around forever. So I do think it would be really, I put it down below, but just to evaluate the trails that exist and all the work that happened on that project and determine, how could we make a trail from the high school over to the community center, up to Big Springs, over to the reservoir, um, to the community center from both sides. I think that ProSap's been working hard on that. And it's in the trails plan, I think. There's some things in there.
Yeah, well, while you mentioned that trail from Caribou Ridge, if you're coming at it from below the school, which is the way I come up on it, and you go to Kindle's Corner, that used to be the way you'd go on, and then they do have the trail past the water thing there that you're supposed to somehow magically know how to get onto. But that trail's never really been, I mean, it's really difficult navigation um, right now. And it brings up a question that's come up in some other committees, and that is oversight. ProSab is so busy planning new things. I don't know whether they have the bandwidth to have an oversight type component to their group, or whether,
I think it's a good goal to have, though, maybe an outcome to this vision if that's what we decide. Doesn't
okay.
all have to fall on ProSab, but I think, even a subcommittee of trying to, well, and then there's the whole concept that's being tossed around on the recreation district conversation. Uh,
Exactly. And we, I don't know, it seems like that the town, bless you guys, but you're so busy dealing with all these new developments and trying to scramble to keep up with you know not what, that it's hard to backtrack and make sure that stuff that's been
yes.
promised
Excuse me again.
is in has been done. And
I'm
also,
mad at-
I would think this oversight committee might help evaluate the planning process of some of these bigger issues.
Oh, I just wanted to make a comment on trails and connectivity. So I don't know if this is in the Trails Master Plan or something that ProSap is looking at, but if it would be nice to have a map of pedestrian routes through town. And some of these could be roads, as May mentioned. You know, the safest way to get from point A to point B. Maybe also it would be a low traffic, pleasant way to walk from one location to another town, from your home to some destination. And also
Exactly.
for
And then I think
visitors.
embedded into that, well, there's an opportunity when you have trails that people use. There's an opportunity for education on those trails, and when like to this weekend, my husband and I went for a walk on the trail we just went from Old Town up.
You're cutting out, Jill.
Yeah, I can't hear her either.
Can you guys hear me?
We can now.
Do I keep getting cut out of this? Just crazy.
You're back in.
Okay, that the people are just cutting trail cut, so that there's erosion happening on some of the switchbacks that go up to, for example, the community center. I don't know if that's a bike issue or whatever, but I think those issues need to get addressed. And I do believe education is very important. So again, then it boils down to funding, but maybe just in terms of our work here, I think education needs to be part of each one of these segments,
We
and
have that up here, education.
Funding needs to be part of each one of the segments.
Funding.
And each one of those education opportunities presents a funding opportunity. For example, I've recently been trying to figure out what species this one bird is that I've never seen before.
Yeah.
And we like, if you were gonna have such a map, and a visitor might say, I just want to go for a quiet walk. I want to look down on town. Well, maybe they could look at the map, and we could have, a few of the species you might encounter in the pamphlet. But if you start to make it a bird-friendly place for real, that's a big draw for some people. Just like the train is in Rollinsville, used to be a big draw for the cafe they had there a million years ago. The train club would come up, and we do have a lot of birds. So I'm
Yeah, the nature center I think will really serve a greater educational goal once it's out at Mud Lake. I think that that's going to be a really big, I'd like to see it be a big part of the education component of town. Maybe there is a little guidebook that's developed as people walk those trails or something.
And that kind of fits into what we ended up with for our vision statement of acknowledging that we are a part of a larger system.
Yep.
Oh, Jill, I was thinking that the Wild Bear Nature Center would be a project for our goals and objectives here. And the goal would be have to do with nature education.
So where would we put that?
Well, I have no objection to that, but I've been told before, and Karen, you can correct me here, that we're not talking about projects. We're never to say, Bobcat Ridge subdivision or Ron Mitchell's development. We're never to name anything.
That's this is big picture stuff, so you don't
Right.
want to focus on any one project
No.
that may or may not happen.
Yeah.
But I would say, you guys are definitely going down the right path, no pun intended, talking about kind of the bigger picture, of trails connecting and making sure that, the community is engaged in a way they understand where the trails are, that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
But Karen, I think for when we get to projects and initiatives, then we are picking out specific.
Definitely that could be. I don't know how that's going to be or if it will be integrated into Envision 2030. I know Envision 2020 didn't include that, so I'm not really sure. I know that was an ask from some of the members of the Envision 2030 committee. So
Well, it was
If
on
we-
the thing that Miranda had sent to us.
Right.
Projects
This-
and initiatives was the last thing we were working on.
Right, which again, I'm just not sure how that's going to integrate to the final document that is Envision
Yeah.
2030. I think this is more of, go ahead.
The framework that we're working towards is a strategic plan. And the vision statement is the first thing, goals and objectives are next. And then projects, initiatives, and metrics go together. So, yeah, I agree that that the specific projects are not part of the vision, and I also agree that projects that are not yet approved and haven't gone through that process with like the Planning Commission and the Board of Trustees, we shouldn't have as projects that we'll do because we're not sure if they will be happening. But the Wild Bear, it has been approved, and so.
And we exist currently, but I don't know if we can
Yeah.
just leave it. I agree with you. I don't think we should be specific.
Yeah.
So you guys have a couple minutes left. I'm just giving you a time. You could always stay on, if you needed to. But we are trying to keep these to their time constraints. And I know that both Miranda and I have meetings all day into the evening.
Yeah,
So
Karen,
just
I've been
FYI.
watching that. I'm watching the time.
Okay, good.
All right, so I would say for next meeting, personally, I would really I'd like how we divided out the goals. I think that's a good way to do it. I like our vision statement. I think we made some progress. Thanks, you guys. I think that was very thoughtful, and I think that just maybe this week we could.
You cut out again. Jill.
In terms of objectives.
Whoops. Can you repeat what you just said?
You cut out.
Oh, that's so frustrating. I can't even tell you. Okay.
Us too.
I'm so frustrated with the internet over here. I don't even, okay. So I think with each of these goals, we have 3 goals that we just put out, just the big overarching goals. Maybe what we can do is each of us kind of think about the overarching bulleted lists at the very top that Karen has there. Yeah. And maybe under each one of these goals, we could kind of take a stab at objectives that address those overarching bullets for each one of those goals as homework for next Monday.
So, okay. So Jill, are you gonna reorganize this document in that way?
I don't know. What do you think, Karen? What do you think?
Yeah, I think
I kind of was thinking it'd be good for us. I like the overarching goals, but I think they need to be specifically addressed to each one of those pieces. And, so accessibility at parks and recreation is going to be different than accessibility on trails, kind of a thing.
Okay, do you want me to reorganize this document so that we can then have a template to fill in? I'll
Yeah,
keep
that'd be
all of
great.
the,
That would
I'll
be
keep
very
all,
helpful, Karen. Thank you. And then again,
okay.
I just had downloaded a bunch of thoughts I had that, you know, I was just trying to get my thoughts down on paper. And May, feel free to do the same thing, because I think
Do you,
there's just a bunch of ideas that we could then distill into these areas
okay,
in a
do you
Jill,
more
I
want me
don't
to,
know whether,
organized fashion.
Jill, can you see? I made some comments and they show up in blue on mine, like under resources.
Yeah.
You can
I
see
see
them.
them.
Okay.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah, and I can,
Yeah, no, I
I'll
think that's great.
do
So we'll
that.
just accept those comments. And then, does it make sense then to have Karen sort of organize us? And Karen, if it doesn't apply, whatever I put in there, I mean, just you can take it out or whatever you think.
okay,
But
I
I was
will,
just kind of trying to sort of give a
okay,
bigger picture.
yeah, I'll reorganize this, try to keep everything that people have said in here. We can always go back to a previous version
Uh-huh.
if we
And
lose
then
something.
next
Okay,
Monday, the following Monday, I'm going to be out of the loop. So I won't be there the week from Monday. Just want everybody to know that. So, okay. Anything else for our closure here?
Good meeting, I think.
Yeah, likewise. And I think just have
You're gone.
Jill, we can't hear you. You could
I
put it
know.
in the chat. Okay.
I'm done. Thank you guys. Have a good day.
okay, bye.
Bye.
Goodbye, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.